All right, everybody, this was a highly requested video on the channel, so I've decided let's do this ASAP because you all want to hear me talk about what should be next for Team Melli. What is the blueprint? What is the game plan in your eyes, Shayan, that the Iranian national team should do from now up to the Asian Cup and during that Asian Cup for us to finally stop going through this emotional turmoil every single World Cup and finally see us have a good time in a World Cup? So let's see if the Iranian national team will take my advice and maybe it might help them go far, but who knows? It's going to be a very simple 3-step plan that the Iranian national team should try to do to see this national team prosper and take those next steps, leaps, bounds to see a new golden generation, a new era like we saw in the late 2010s under Carlos Queiroz. But before we get into it, boys and girls, if you are new to the channel and you are a big fan of Asian football, but more specifically the Iranian national team, this is the channel that you need to be at, so make sure to subscribe because we're on the road to 7,000 subscribers before the World Cup ends, and I know with your guys' help, we can reach that goal. Let's try to hit over 100 likes on this video because every time you guys like it, maybe somebody in the Federation might watch the video and just take some notes and be like, you know what, the Shayan guy knows what he's talking about. So make sure to do that. And now let's jump into it. So as I said, it's going to be a simple 3-step plan that is a little bit surface level because I think there's a lot more in-depth things that you could talk about, add, but I might just kind of supplement it into my topics that I will discuss in the 3 steps we're going to talk about in this video. But honestly, I'm not like the biggest expert when it comes to those like nitty gritty small specifics, but I will try to talk about, you know, the whole well-roundedness, but this is more of like a general big factors that will maybe compound and trickle down to all of those more in-depth, small, nuanced things that will help the national team over time. First and foremost, the biggest change that needs to happen ASAP is a coaching change. Amir Qalanoui needs to go. And the Iranian national team needs to bring in a high pedigree European coach like what Carlos Queiroz was when he was appointed before the 2014 World Cup, but a more modern style version of that right here and now. To look back at that era when we failed to qualify for the 2010 World Cup, I was still really young. I was really new to the Iranian national team, but they were a little bit down in the dumps. They were on a downward trajectory. We swung big. We went for Carlos Queiroz, and the rest is history. Probably the greatest ever Iranian national team coach and revolutionized the national team. We need someone like that now. We have hit a hardcore slump since the peaks of 2018, and we need someone to take up that mantle and have that 2.0 version of the building blocks that Carlos Queiroz was able to bring. I did a video talking about some coaches that could be a possibility that we could bring in where we could see that. So if you guys want to check out that video, go watch that after you finish this one. But honestly, any of these high profile coaches, a Xavi, a Renard, a Conceição, whoever, but don't go backwards in another stubborn Iranian coach like a Gol Mohammadi that's so similar to Amir Qalanoui, and I would even argue is worse than Qalanoui. Maybe at one point Nekunan will be the guy. I just don't think now is the time. Swing big. We have played it so safe in this 4-year span under Qalanoui, and we've honestly digressed. We have gone so far back to the dinosaur ages that we need to start making some serious leaps and bounds to catch up just that little bit from the opportunity that we have missed in this last 4 years to be able to develop this national team. And if we bring in a coach that is stubborn, cutthroat, and honestly doesn't really have much skin in the Iranian game, that won't play favorites. Oh, I coached in this team in the PGPL. Oh, well, I'm from this town in Iran. No, I want a disciplined, hard-ass coach. Renard, I think, embodies that quite a bit. Xavi could embody that quite a bit. And these are just a couple of names off the top of my head. There are so many other good options that Iran can bring in. So yes, this is the first and most crucial step in the development of the national team going into the Asian Cup and even going into the next World Cup. I know it's so early to say, but 100% this is the first step that needs to be taken, and I think would start us off on a very, very positive note if we do something like this. Because we saw after the failure of qualifying for 2010, we brought in Queiroz, and how much success we had after that. We qualified for 4 straight World Cups, and Kirosh is the biggest reason for that. I'm not giving credit to Qaranui for the reason why we qualified for this World Cup. This is still Kirosh's team. The only reason we are here is because of a guy like him, and we need someone like that again in the modern 2026 footballing world. The second thing would be is passing on the torch, moving on from this golden generation, and start playing youngsters. We need to desperately decrease the age of this team because it is so old. We had the oldest team at the World Cup. We literally broke the record for having the oldest starting lineup in World Cup history against Belgium. This is over. Unk FC is done. I don't want to see any more of this because even with this experienced squad that Qaranui rode the hill with, still wasn't able to do it. We weren't even able to win a game. Yes, we don't have as many talented young Iranians playing across Europe like we used to, but there are still so many solid ones that we could build this team around. I don't know how true the rumors are, but apparently Besiktas might be interested in Beranvan, RB Salzburg might be interested in Mohebi. Imagine if we gave the youngsters like a Said Manesh, a Hossein Nejad, a Mehdi Zadeh, whoever, actual opportunities at this World Cup. It would have been such a good springboard to show off our players to the world, and maybe they get more opportunities at bigger clubs. But it was just self-sabotage, as I've said a million times. And it's already hard for these young players to get bigger moves because they're Iranian and the stigmas behind Iran, the politics. Many clubs don't want to take that risk anymore. Why don't we try to help our own players by playing them in big tournaments, Asian Cups, World Cups? That's what needs to be done. In qualifiers, Asian Cup, we need a young squad. I'm willing to sacrifice the short-term gain of the Asian Cup if we are willing to implement younger players. If that means the betterment of our future going into the 2030 World Cup, I'm okay with that. In the 2018 World Cup, which is our best World Cup, don't care what anybody says, and you'd be absolutely psychotic if you say otherwise, our average age was around 25 to 26. That speaks volumes to me. In the group that we were in, and we had an average age of 25, 26, and we played that well, come on, the blueprint is there. The proof is in the pudding. Youngsters like Khalife, Fala, Mehdi Zadeh, Qurbani, Razagi, Said Manesh, Qandipur, Sahar Khizan. These are just a few names on the list off the top of my dome that I know for a fact that would play better than a lot of these really crappy unks that you chose to play over them. And it still kills me because if we implemented some of these other guys, I think this World Cup would have been a whole different story for us. But I will say, a quick caveat, I'm not saying get rid of all the unks. We do still need some experience. Again, that healthy balance. Like in 2018, we had guys like Shojai, Guchad Nejad, all these type of guys still in there with younger guys that complemented it, a healthy balance. I think guys maybe like Taremi, Ezotolahi, taking a big lesser role. Like Taremi, Jahanbakhsh, they have that European experience. They got that dog in them that they advocate for players to go play in Europe. So why not have those type of guys in the squad that will push players to do that? Because I've spoken to them about it and they have said they push players, they tell players to do it. A lot of them just don't listen. So maybe under a new coach that would emphasize that and would reward them for playing in Europe instead of going back to playing in Iran or in the Middle East like Qaranui has done, with players that have been there, done that, and will continue pushing players to go play in Europe. I think that is a really healthy recipe of success. But we need to skim a lot of the fat. This is a steak that is full of so much fat. A lot of it needs to be trimmed off, but still keep some of these experienced guys, but be really smart about who that will be. And again, if you bring in the right coach, I'm confident they will pick the right players for that. And then finally, my last part of this plan, push for more players to go play in Europe. I mean, during our golden generation of this team, we had like 20 to 25-ish players playing in Europe. That was a all-time high for us. And that is why we were so good. There was so much competition. We actually had a really good team. We need that to happen again. In this last 4 years, we have digressed so much with players playing in Europe. Qaranui has literally pushed for mediocrity in this national team. So many of our good players coming back to Iran, the Middle East. Azmoun, I'm talking about you. That we need to hardcore reverse that. We need to have a coach and a federation, an organization that pushes players to go play in Europe. We have connections. We have Iranians that coach in second tiers, have academies, have connections across Europe. Tap into that. And obviously, I think the federation would play a big part into it, and that could be another step in itself. But I'm not well versed enough in that regard to really pinpoint those things. Again, if you do all of these things I talked about, I think we're going to make leaps and bounds. But again, it's very surface level. It's not exactly like super in depth, but it's a very thanks, Captain Obvious. We know these things need to be done, but obviously it's not freaking happening. We need more players in Europe. We need a coach that pushes that emphasis because Carlos Queiroz did that. We're still reaping those rewards for a lot of these players. We need that type of mentality in this team. We have some players that play in Europe, like your Hossein Ajads, your Said Maneshes, but are not getting rewarded for that. So then when players see that, why would they continue pushing themselves in leagues that they don't get rewarded for and instead just go back to Iran or the Middle East? They're close to home. They're praised in Iran. They love them over there. But in Russia or in Poland, like, nobody cares who they are. They don't care that they're Iranian. We need to be rewarding those things. And Khalnoui and his stupid Kubi Dim munching ethos, we have gone so backwards. And I know maybe some of you might comment like, okay, what about the implementation of Azmoun? Maybe I would implement him back into the team, but in all honesty, I think this should be the end for Azmoun in the national team. I think, again, you can keep guys like Azmoun, Taremi, Jahanbakhsh, but we kind of saw it a little bit with Taremi, a lot of hero ball. Yes, it wasn't his fault entirely with the tactics we approached with. Like, we thought he was Jamie Vardy and kept lobbing it up to him. He didn't have much offensive support. Like, if Mohalou was coming off the bench, yeah, I'd be throwing a little bit of a hissy fit too. But we need a coach that really will set the standard and be like, hey, Mehdi, you're still a part of the team, but you're going to take a huge role cut in a sense. You're going to have a lesser role for this team. I want you to help in a sense, be a leader for this team, be a coach, still be a part of it. But we really can't be having these inflated egos. Like, I don't know if many of you know about this, but this is like a story that many of my older Iranian colleagues have told me about, like in the 2006 World Cup. Daesh should probably have not been there, but because of his ego, the issues with Brankovic, who was the coach at the time, it was a bit of a recipe of disaster because he was very much past. He probably shouldn't have been playing. We had other better attackers. But again, that ego and not establishing like authority from the coach to the players, it was not a good look. And I want to see that where, yeah, Azmoun, Taremi, you're not bigger than the team. You're still a part of it, but you're not my main guys. And with Azmoun, to go back to that, because that was originally the point I was talking about, I don't know, like, he's not that great anymore in the UAE. He had a great first season. He's been getting injured a lot. He's not playing in Europe. Like, back then, at least he was getting injured somewhat, but he's playing at a high level, so I could excuse that. I still think he's better than a lot of the other attackers, but again, to cut the short-term gain, I would rather just play the younger guys for more of a long-term gain. I honestly think maybe this is just the fitting goodbye for him because Azmoun's kind of left as a hero. Most people don't really have much of an issue about how he was cut from the team because it was a bit unjust. He probably should have been at the last World Cup based on all our other squad selections, but he kind of gets to leave as a hero. I just don't know if he'll continue still being the guy based on his form, his injuries, where he's playing. I don't know, it's kind of like that Batman quote, you know, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and I don't really want that to be the case for Azmoun. And same with Taremi, and we've seen that with a lot of the other UNC players, so yeah, that's why we got to be really careful with who we keep and who we think should be those leaders for guiding that next generation, whoever that coach is, to smooth it out for us. But yeah, that is my easy, simple 3-step plan that I hope the Federation is watching and taking notes about because, hey, it's free advice. Take it or leave it. But boys and girls, as I always say at the end of every single video, my opinion only matters so much. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Do you guys agree, disagree, anything that I missed that you think would be important to discuss? for the future of the Iranian national team. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Maybe we do a part 2. Make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 7,000 subscribers before the World Cup ends, and I know with your guys' help, we can reach that goal. Drop a like. Let's try to get over 100 likes. That 1% better chance that the Federation follows everything that I said. Who knows? And if you guys enjoyed this video, don't stop watching now, as I have countless other fantastic videos across my channel. So click this video next, as the YouTube algorithm specifically recommended this video for you all to watch next. And click over here, as I post content weekly on the channel and you don't want to miss it. But boys and girls, I hope you all have a lovely day.